Natalie sat at the farthest corner of the wedding hall, her hands folded tightly in her lap, trying to keep them from trembling. She had dressed carefully that morning, her one good dress, a soft lavender piece she had bought secondhand, pressed until every wrinkle disappeared. She had pinned her hair neatly, placed a simple necklace at her throat, and even allowed herself a whisper of hope that maybe, just maybe, today she would be seen. But now, as she stared at the elegantly decorated tables filled with family and friends, laughter, and clinking glasses, her reality pressed down harder than ever. They had put her at the forgotten corner, behind a towering floral arrangement, as if she were something to be hidden away. That it wasn't the first time. For 10 years, since the accident that took her parents and left her with no one but her distant relatives, Natalie had lived in the Whitfield household. They had clothed her, fed her, and given her a roof, but never love. To them, she was a burden they carried only because it looked good to others. She had grown up in the shadows of her cousins and sister, never celebrated, never truly welcomed. And now, at her own sister's wedding, she was the shadow once more. Invisible. Disposable. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of love to transform lives, please take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue bringing you real, emotional stories that touch the heart. Natalie's fork scraped against her plate, though she had little appetite. Around her, the music swelled, couples danced, champagne glasses clinked, and people posed for endless photos. At the center of it all, her sister, radiant in white, glowed with joy. And yet Natalie felt smaller with every passing second, like a ghost no one wanted to acknowledge. No one came to her table. No one spoke to her. Even when she tried to smile politely at those passing by, their eyes slid away quickly, as if contact with her might taint their own happiness. Her chest ached with a familiar heaviness, the kind that told her she did not belong, never had, and maybe never would. She looked down at her scarred hands, tiny marks left from the fire the night her parents died, and remembered her sister's words years ago when Natalie had asked why she wasn't included in family photos. Because you remind us of tragedy, Nat. We just want to move forward. She swallowed hard, fighting the sting in her throat. She wanted so badly to disappear, to slip out of the hall unnoticed and walk barefoot into the night. No one would miss her, after all. But just as she was gathering the courage to leave, a shadow fell across her table. She looked up and froze. A man stood there, tall and broad-shouldered, with a quiet strength about him. His suit was neat but not flashy, his tie slightly loosened as though he wasn't entirely comfortable in crowds. Beside him, clinging shyly to his hand, was a little girl in a pale pink dress with dark curls that framed her face. The man's eyes, steady and kind, settled on Natalie's trembling ones. And then, in a voice low but firm, he said 6 words that shattered the walls around her heart. "Act like you're with me, please." Natalie blinked, stunned. She glanced around, half worried he had mistaken her for someone else. But the man pulled out the chair beside her and sat down with the confidence of someone who belonged exactly where he chose to be. His daughter climbed onto his lap, her small eyes bright as she studied Natalie curiously. And suddenly Natalie felt warmth bloom where there had only been emptiness. To tea first. She didn't know what to say. But she didn't need to. The man, whose name she would later learn was Daniel, took a sip of water, smiled politely at her, and engaged her as though she were the most important person in the room. For the first time that evening, she wasn't invisible. She was seen. As the minutes passed, Natalie learned Daniel was a widowed father. His wife had died 3 years earlier, and since then he had devoted his life to raising his daughter, Emma. They weren't technically part of the bride's or groom's family, but had been invited as friends of the groom's cousin. Daniel confessed he hated weddings, too much noise, too many fake smiles. But he had come for Emma, who loved the idea of princess dresses and dancing. Natalie listened, surprised by how natural it felt. She even laughed softly when Emma tugged at her sleeve and whispered, "You look like a fairy." Something inside Natalie, long frozen, began to thaw. Still, doubt lingered. Why had this stranger chosen her, of all people? She finally asked him, her voice barely above a whisper. Daniel's reply silenced the ache in her chest. "Because I saw you sitting alone. And no one deserves to be alone at a wedding." Those words lodged deep within her heart, The night unfolded differently after that. Where she had been ignored, now she was included. Daniel introduced her to others at their table, seamlessly folding her into conversations. Emma insisted Natalie join them on the dance floor, giggling when Natalie clumsily twirled. Even as whispers and curious glances followed them, Natalie felt something unfamiliar, belonging. For the first time in years, she felt like part of life again, not just watching from the shadows. But the transformation wasn't without cost. Her sister noticed. So did the Whitfields. Displeasure flickered in their eyes when they saw Natalie laughing with Daniel, or when Emma hugged her tightly, as if they'd known each other forever. Later, her aunt cornered her near the bathroom, hissing that Natalie was embarrassing the family by clinging to strangers. Natalie wanted to crumble under those words. Yet when she returned to the table and saw Daniel's steady gaze and Emma's trusting smile, something inside her shifted. She was tired of being ashamed for existing, tired of being hidden away. For the rest of the night, she chose differently. She let herself dance, laugh, talk, and even eat dessert without guilt. She let herself believe, for just a few hours, that she was worthy of kindness and joy. And though it was only one evening, it was enough to plant a seed of courage inside her heart. The wedding eventually wound down. Guests left with their gift bags, the band packed up, and the newlyweds drove away under a shower of sparklers. Natalie found herself standing outside the hall, uncertain, clutching her small purse. She didn't expect Daniel to wait, but he did. He stood a few steps away, his jacket draped over his shoulder, Emma asleep against him. He smiled softly at her, the kind of smile that said he understood more than words could. "Take care of yourself, Natalie," he said. "You deserve more than you've been given." And then he walked away into the night, carrying his little girl. Natalie stood rooted in place, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. For 10 years, she had been told, by silence, by neglect, by avoidance, that she wasn't enough. But one man, with 6 simple words, had shown her that she was worthy of being chosen, of being seen. It wasn't a love story, not yet. It was something deeper, the beginning of Natalie believing in herself again. In the weeks that followed, she began making small but brave choices. She signed up for evening classes in graphic design, something she had always dreamed of. She found part-time work at a local cafe, where she began to save money for her own place. And every time doubt whispered that she was still the unwanted one, she remembered Daniel's voice. No one deserves to be alone. And she wasn't. Because even if Daniel never appeared in her life again, he had given her the courage to show up for herself, to stand in the light, to live. If this story has touched your heart, please don't leave without showing support. Like this video, share it with someone who might need hope today, and subscribe to the channel. Every small action helps us keep sharing stories that remind us of the goodness still left in this world. And now, before we end, I want to ask you something very special. If you were Natalie that night, sitting alone in that corner, what would you hope someone might do for you? Please share your answer in the comments. We read every single one. Because sometimes, one act of kindness can change a life forever.